Jody, thank you for taking pictures as well. Jody, thank you for your artistic expertise in helping me do the centerpieces. I couldn't have done it without you. Mary and Dave, thank you so much for lying through your teeth. That's what I call real family sacrifice to get my mom here. And most of all, I really want to thank Ralph. He has made so many trips because of these photographs that you see around. Costco knows him on a first-name basis. He knows the girl behind the photograph counter's vacation plans. I'm getting a little nervous about all this, but he did so much work to make these pictures, and he really just supported me through all of this, and I really appreciate that. Thank you all very much for helping. Mom, as your only child, I have the daunting task of making this speech. The good news is, I didn't know you for 30 years, so, all right, that makes it a little bit easier. Not much. So I went through my memory bank and I tried to think of some highlights, and I categorized it by years of mine, not yours. I guess it's both, though. My first memories are preschool. Believe it or not, I still remember preschool. We're talking Stone Age. But I do remember, and I remember Grandpa had to drive you to work and me to preschool every day. And poor Grandpa, he used to have to wait while I dressed my dolls, all of them, for their trip every day. And he would stand there fuming. I watched his jugular. I always thought that was part of his regular anatomy. His jugular coming out of his neck while he was looking at his watch, wanting to go so he would be on time. And Mom would calmly soothe his feathers, and somehow we made it to preschool. I remember another preschool story. This one was really kind of humorous. We had to go to show and tell, and we had to find out what our fathers did for a living. So I asked my dad, "Dad, what's your job?" And he told me. So I went to school and I said, "My dad, what is your father's job?" I said, "My dad makes money in our basement." So Mom had to have a little chat with me about that and say that Dad was only kidding, that he really doesn't make the money in the basement. But we got a lot of weird looks at preschool after that. In first grade, I had a little dilemma because every Friday was yo-yo contest. I could never master the yo-yo. I'm basically a klutz. So I was sure that it was because of the yo-yo that I couldn't do this competition. So every week, Mom would truck me to the store, and we'd replace the defective yo-yo that didn't work the week before with a new one. And this went on for about 2 months until finally I decided, I don't want to do this competition anymore. And I switched to hopscotch, and everybody was happy. But all through school, the one thing that Mom did that sticks out in my mind the most is she used to make me jelly sandwiches for my lunch. But she didn't just make jelly sandwiches. She would cut off the crusts and use a cookie cutter, do you remember this? To make little animal jelly sandwiches. And I used to open my lunch box, or lunch bag it was in those days, every day rather, and see a different animal. And she added so much excitement to my lunchtime. I still remember. Our holidays were always a real special time. Christmas was one of my favorites, but maybe not for the reason you think. Every year, Grandma and Grandpa, Gig and Pop, would drive down at 7 a.m. to have breakfast with us. And every year, Grandpa said the exact same thing. He'd come in the door with his bags of presents and his coat, and he'd say, "We're the only jackasses on 208. Every year. And I always took the heat for that. But in reality, it wasn't me that made them come early. It was Mom. She used to come into my room at 5:30 in the morning every Christmas and say, "It's time to open our stockings." So we'd get in her bed, she, Dad, and I, and we would open our stockings. And then, as we were finished, she'd say, do you remember what you said? "Where are my presents?" Every year. Still to this day. Right. And after breakfast, when we opened our presents, she would be ripping through them at record speed, and then she would throw the box at either me or her friend June to refold whatever was in them, so it didn't slow her down on opening the rest. And we went for this for many years.
High-octane energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Mom also introduced me to the idea of making cookies at Christmas, which I still do. And one year that stands out in my mind was a year that I was in my apartment, and I had Mom and Gig come to make cookies with me. I had counter space about this big in my kitchen, and that was it. So we had to put cookie sheets on the toilet seat. I thought Gig was going to have a fit when we did that, and I kind of didn't want to tell her. But after she saw the cookie sheets on the toilet, thankfully she laughed. She thought it was funny, and we had a really great time. But my all-time favorite holiday was Easter. Without fail, and I'm sure some of my cousins can relate to this, every year at Easter, Mom gave me a Tony home permit. About a week before Easter. Not only did it smell like a septic system in failure, you can tell I'm married to an engineer, right? But it made my hair in corkscrews that didn't go away for months. No wonder, see? No wonder I wore an Easter bonnet every year. Yuck. That was the worst. When I saw that box, I still remember it was gray with pink lettering. Ugh. Right. Seriously though, family and tradition were always very important to Mom. We always had regular visits to all of my aunts and uncles on both sides of the family on pretty much a weekly basis. We went to Aunt Lil's, we went to Uncle Bill and Aunt Marie's on Friday nights, we went to Aunt Lucy and Uncle Bill's on Friday nights. We kept in touch with all of our family, and I love to go see everyone. That's a memory that I'll always treasure. Now we're into the teenage years. Do you remember them, Mom?
I don't want to.
I guess our teenage years were normal. I was a challenge to Mom's patience. We didn't agree on a lot, but we especially didn't agree on fashion. Before every important event, Mom would take me dress shopping. And I don't know how, but she would find the most ugly dress in the entire store and bring it cheerfully into the dressing room and say, "How about this one?" And I would grimace and refuse to try it on. All right? Somehow, we always came home, finally, with something for me to wear. But our discussions before, during, and after were historic legends. We both survived, right, Mom?
Yes, I think so.
I think so, too. The other thing I remember about my teenage years was our backyard pool. Mom was always concerned about our safety. As a matter of fact, Uncle Bill Heatley and my dad used to call her Mrs. Meanie, which there's a picture of behind my sister. She was always yelling at us in the pool. Just because we dove off of the ladder into 4 feet of water, and we surfed on the rafts, and we jumped over the side of the pool, I really don't know what the problem was. I know. Family vacations were really special, and we look forward to them every year. And don't tell him, but I married Ralph because he reminds me of my dad before we went on vacation. We were going to prepare for a forced march. Like this morning. All right, my dad would always resume his role of a drill sergeant and set the most unrealistic schedule for us to depart from the house. It was unreal. Every time we used to brace ourselves. So I used to try to listen, but not Mom. Mom would just let it roll off her back. She would come up with her own schedule and drive my father absolutely crazy. I enjoyed watching their interaction, and I took mental notes. And now, as Ralph will attest, I've become just like my mother prior to our travel experience, right?
Absolutely.
Thanks, Mom. He's got a few more gray because of me.
Most of it is Charlotte.
It In spite of all the teasing, though, I was blessed to have a mom that always was interested in what I did. She always wanted to know every little detail of what I did during the day, and she always was there to offer me support and encouragement. After I got married, Ralph and I very much enjoyed Mom's presence, and we had lots of fun times together. We shared many happy times with my dad and my mom, for which I'm very grateful now. Our experiences together continue with Mom and Armand, and we traveled to Disney World together, and we shared adventures, holidays, special events, and of course time with Tina and Charlie, and we always had a lot of fun together. Speaking of Tina and Charlie, my mom's role as grandma, or Goggy as she's known to my kids, she assumed with great enthusiasm. She especially enjoyed attending all of the sporting events, the milestones, the birthday parties, the communions, the confirmations, the school concerts, the graduations, etc. I'm thankful that our children have had the opportunity to have her in their life, to learn about my family through her, and also to have her as an integral part of their day-to-day happenings. We've also been very delighted to have Bob join in the activities in the past several years, and to help us to continue to observe family traditions and create new memories together. Now, Mom, we've come here today to celebrate your 90 years on this planet. If you look at all of the people here, you have to multiply it by 3 to get to your age. What an achievement! As you look around the room and you see all the photographs, those all mark historical moments in your life. But your real tribute today, Mom, are all of the people who are here, all of the people who are here to reminisce with you, to celebrate with you, who've loved you over all of these years. That's the legacy that you should be thinking of today, and that's really the blessing that you have here today. And among all of these people that are in the room, there's me. Your one and only daughter, for better or for worse. That phrase really is multi-purpose. Mom, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for all that you've done for my family and me over all of these years, for teaching me in life that there are moments that you have to meet and you'll only meet them once, so you better show up for that meeting, for showing me the importance of family and that everybody in the world counts, for demonstrating to me, and boy do you, that every day is a gift and you should relish it with enthusiasm, for reminding me that laughing is sometimes the best way to cry. And boy, I've used that one a lot. For providing me with a role model for motherhood and someday grandmotherhood. I don't know if that's really a word, but I threw it in there. For giving me the appropriate genes to continue that we sprint through life, right? The woman on the galloping horse. I'm trying to get there. I know, you too. And most of all, for showing me how to love and how to give love. I pray, Mom, that God will continue to bless you with good health, daily joy, and grant us many more years for making happy memories together. Thank you for being my mom, and I love you very much.
Thank you for being here. I'm speechless after that.
Oh my God, we finally accomplished it. Yes!
I am speechless, but I thank all of you for coming. It's been wonderful, and I do appreciate it very, very much. And David, you owe me a lunch.